Imagine finding out someone you trusted, someone you invited into your life, has been stealing from you. Not just a little, but thousands of dollars. This is the story of how I caught a so-called friend red-handed and made sure their life would never be the same again. I first met Jake through a mutual friend. He had that kind of charm that made you feel like you'd known him for years. Funny, talkative, always with a new story. A few months in, Jake told me he was struggling financially. Late rent, bills piling up, the works. Now, I've always believed in helping people when I can, so I offered him some extra hours working in my small business. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid decently, and I figured it might help him get back on his feet. He was grateful, or so I thought. A few weeks later, I noticed something strange in the books. A $200 cash sale wasn't in the till. I told myself, mistakes happen. Maybe it was a miscount. But then it happened again and again. That's when the unease started creeping in. I knew I needed proof before I confronted him. So I installed a discreet camera in the back office, right above the safe. Sure enough, within 3 days, there it was. Jake, looking over his shoulder, opening the safe and sliding cash into his pocket like it was nothing. No hesitation, no guilt, just business as usual. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I started keeping a detailed record of every missing dollar. I saved the footage. I made sure there was no doubt about what was happening. By the end of the month, he had stolen over $4,000. Finally, I called him into the office. I didn't tell him why, just that I needed to talk. When I showed him the footage, his face went pale. Then, as if on cue, the excuses poured out. It's not what it looks like. I was just borrowing it. I was gonna pay you back. Classic. I didn't raise my voice. I just told him I had all the proof I needed and that the next steps were entirely up to me. But here's the thing. I wasn't satisfied with just firing him. I wanted to know why he thought he could get away with this. So I started digging. And oh boy. It turns out Jake had done this before. Twice at other small businesses. Both times, the owners had decided not to press charges because he promised to pay it back. This guy had made a career out of stealing from people who trusted him. I decided enough was enough. First, I went to the police with the footage, the logs, and every piece of evidence I had. Then, I called the other business owners he had stolen from and encouraged them to do the same. Within a week, Jake was facing multiple charges. Not just for my case, but for his entire pattern of theft. And here's the kicker. When the police searched his apartment, they found more than $10,000 in cash hidden in a shoebox. Jake S., I was just borrowing a defense didn't he exactly hold up in court. He ended up with a felony conviction, restitution orders, and a permanent mark on his record. The best part? Because of the multiple charges, he couldn't plead them down to a slap on the wrist. Now, every time he applies for a job, that conviction is right there in black and white. And anyone thinking of hiring him will know exactly what kind of person he is. So, was it petty to go this far? Some people think so, but when you've been stolen from, when your trust has been broken like that, sometimes the only real justice is making sure they can never do it to anyone else again.